I'm Max Becker, Regional Sales Manager for American Lighting's Seasonal Division. I'm here today to talk about the installation process of putting holiday lights on a commercial roof line. So the first thing that I always like to do upon arriving on a site is ensure that I have all the equipment that I would possibly need before heading up onto the roof. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a job take hours longer than expected because somebody didn't check their bag before they climbed the ladder, ended up spending an hour or two running off the roof searching for equipment. I always like to make sure that we have everything you could possibly need, even if it doesn't seem specifically applicable to that roof line. So that list includes ladders, snips, clips, male and female plugs, a good amount of extra extension wire, timers, zip ties, clear packing tape, and then a rope and a bag to haul it all up behind you. Now that we have our inventory taken and we're on the roof, we are ready to get started. First step will obviously be your power. So you'll want to find your closest power outlet to where you want to start your roof line from, usually hidden within an HVAC unit or something similar. And then you'll plug in your timer. You want to make sure that the current time is set on the timer when you plug it in so that your day and night cycle is consistent with reality. And then you also want to make sure that your on and off time for the lights is set to the customer's specification. Now that we've done that, we'll want to run our extension line to where we want to plan to start our roof lines. I always prefer to start on a corner for two reasons. One, this makes labeling during takedown quite a bit simpler. And two, you can sort of use the corner to your advantage to kind of hide your extension wire behind. And now we've gotten there, we've got our first couple bulbs on. We'll want to go back and tape down our extension wire here. And there's a couple reasons for this. The biggest one is to prevent shifting of the wire as the storms come in and out. We don't want these lights to fall, obviously. And there is a specific strategy here. So you want to take just clear packing tape, heavy duty, not the smaller retail stuff that's not nearly as effective. And then you want to use the wire kind of as a press point, press it down, and then fold the tape over and tape it back to itself before you tape it down to the parapet. This creates a little bit of a watertight seal here. It'll keep the rain and snow from getting in there and loosening the wire from the tape. And the goal of the tape is to prevent then movement of the wire during those storms, which would eventually cause your lights to move with it. Now that we're secured initially, and I should also mention that I would tape on both sides of every corner. Using this same method, get down into another corner, you want to go on both sides. It provides a good latching point if your lights were to fail at any point. As we're moving along our roof line here, there's three things that you really want to make sure you're keeping track of. Twisting is the first one. We want to make sure we don't have the wire twisting up like this. This amount of slack that introduces, though small right now, as the temperature changes through the day and night cycle, it's going to shrink and re-expand and eventually cause your system to fail. So we'll want to make sure that the line is consistently straight all the way along. The second one is tension. Again, making sure that we have absolutely as much tension as we go along the entirety of the roof line. And finally, taping. If you're ending up, imagine this is a 200-foot run with no corners, since we're already taping the corners, but we'll want to make sure that we have a fail-safe in the middle of this longer line. And to do that, you kind of just run opposite of how you would tape a corner, where you're going to come up underneath the wire, press it into itself, and then tape the tape back onto itself and make sure that it's securely attached to your flash. As you're moving forward, you want to make sure that each of these bulbs lines up directly with the top of the parapet to prevent this sort of wavy motion going on. It just doesn't look clean. Keeping it towards the top will actually highlight the building's features as you're aiming to do. So after you've done that, we'll keep moving 1,000 times. We'll get to the point where we're at the end and we're ready to tape up our last section. Even though we are trying to keep consistent spacing all the way through, we'll get to a point where we want to end here, but our spacing is too wide, or occasionally it might be too short and you end up with a piece here that's darker. So what we'll do there is line up our bulb with the top of the parapet, and then using another piece of tape similar to before, you want to pull your wire up above, make sure that you're then creating tension on both sides, and the same effect. Put the wire over, secure the packing tape to itself, and then tape it to the parapet. After that, assuming you've lit every section of the roof that you want, I always like to double check my timer, make sure it's running on the actual time, make sure it matches up with the time during the install and the time it is when I leave, and then you're done. After completing our install, I always made sure to do weekly or even bi-weekly maintenance checks to ensure that we didn't have any changes in the consistency of our lighting. You know, if we have small shifts here or there, it doesn't look like much here, but from the ground, it's very obvious. And these are the sort of things that current and potentially future customers might notice and sort of change their opinion of your installation procedure. So I would always make sure to go up on the rooftop and fix any dangling bulbs, replace any tape that needed. Any corner that I ever tried to cut inevitably turned into hours of work replacing the entire roof line, usually in the middle of the night. So I would recommend fixing any mistakes you see as you see them and doing that consistently throughout the season. Now that we've completed the install portion, our next video will cover takedown and storage, which will help you prepare for the following season. And if you ever have any questions regarding installation specifically, give us a call at American Lighting. We'd be happy to help.